in 2020 or any year. But right now, I'm fortunate enough to be sitting here with the mayor of Santa Cruz, Bill Miranda. Good morning, Bill. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Louie. It's my pleasure. I always love coming to KHTS.
We love having you here. So, if you can briefly explain to our audience here the way the city council works. We're a little bit different than LA. We don't vote the mayor into office. You guys rotate throughout the years. If you could just explain to the listeners how our city council works a little bit, how many members there are, and what your job as mayor is.
Okay, well, that's a wide open question, and I'll start at the very core of it, and that's our city council is made up of 5 individuals that get elected throughout the city. We don't have districts or sections or parts of the city that get elected, but you get elected as a council member for the entire city. We have 5 of us. We are all equal, and basically we sit at the top of the organization of the city. We're the ones that vote on and decide pretty much all the major issues that go on in our city. One of us each year is selected to be mayor, and mayor is more a ceremonial position than anything else, because the mayor is no more powerful than any other council person. Normally we rotate so that when you get elected by the 5th year, so we serve 4-year terms, so you have to get elected and reelected. By that 5th year, it's usually your turn to become the mayor. So I was appointed in 2017, and I hit my 5th year in 2021, and so I got elected in 2020. Let me do my math right. In 2018, I got elected in 2018. So, at any rate, this is my 5th year, and I was selected to be the mayor for this year. So that's the top. Now, running the city, the people who actually do the heavy lifting in the city, that starts with the city manager. And the city manager has a staff. Everybody who works for the city basically reports to the city manager through different levels of management. And our city manager is Ken Striplin. He's an excellent city manager. He's been with our city for many years in many different positions. And so he runs the city and his direction comes from the council. Does that?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And so with the different members of the city council, does every member have their own responsibility? Like Jason Gibbs or you are responsible for doing one thing in particular, or is everything that is done as a team?
Yes and yes. So everything that is done as a team, but each of the council members serves on various committees and or commissions and becomes a representative for the council on those committees or commissions.
Okay.
Then they bring that information to the council, to the general council, to the entire council, and that's how we keep informed on the various things going on in the city, and that's how we're able to make hopefully intelligent decisions on any issues that come up.
Okay. So with that all being said, nobody on the city council was expecting to have a city get locked down because of a pandemic. So what would you say are some of the things that COVID has impacted the most, whether it's a positive or a negative in the Valley? Obviously, businesses have been affected, but are there any other major impacts you think you've seen, again, whether positive or negative, over the last year?
Well, Louis, it's very difficult to say impacted the most, because it's if you're impacted, you're impacted, and
Yeah.
and it's heavy duty stuff. Okay, so if you look at the children, if you look at the schools, they've been impacted dramatically. Basically, they've lost most of a year of schooling. And most of the year schooling, I don't just mean academics. I mean social. I mean physically. They've lost most of a year, and that's severely impactful. But I'll also go to the healthcare workers. They've been impacted dramatically. I mean, could you imagine the stress that they go through having to deal with this terrible, terrible disease? Patients come in, uh, their families are anxious. Patients have to breathe and they can't breathe, and so it's not just something that you put someone in a bed and you take care of them every once in a while. It's something that you have to be involved in almost constantly as a healthcare worker. And so the impact to them has got to be super, super dramatic. Yes, we have impact to businesses. And, when you have a family business, Louis, and your business is not being able to feed the family, that's a tremendous impact. And that is very, very harmful to that family, but also harmful to all small business people, all family-owned businesses, and the economy at large. So that's severely impactful. You then have the impact that it has on a lot of minority or low-income people, in the sense that a lot of people can afford to have stay-at-home studying. They can afford to have computers, they can afford to have cell phones, they can afford to have internet, and they can somehow try and keep up with some of the academics. But a lot of people can't. A lot of people can't afford the internet in their homes. A lot of people can't afford computers, they can't afford cell phones. And they really lag behind. So you create even a greater disparity between middle income people and lower income people, and frankly between high income people and middle income people. It's very, very impactful all around the community. As I said, if I had to choose two, I would pick the children and the healthcare workers.
Yeah. And for those of you just joining us, my name is Louie Diaz, one of the co-news directors here at KHTS Radio. Right now, we're sitting down with the mayor of Santa Clarita, Bill Miranda, discussing the last year of 2020 and how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected Santa Clarita. Bill, looking back in hindsight, how do you think the city handled the lockdown, and how do you feel the county did communicating with you guys? And would there be anything you wish was done differently, or are you pretty happy with the way everything was handled?
Well, again, think in terms of the people impacted. It's hard to say pretty happy with the way anything is handled if you're one impacted by the pandemic. If you're not, you might say, yeah, well, the city handled it pretty well. I think the city handled it very well, better than most, that's for sure, because we were prepared, not just for a pandemic, but we're prepared for earthquakes or fires and other emergencies. We have emergency plans in place. We have emergency budgets in place. So our city comes out of this in relatively good shape. And I use the word relatively because nobody comes out of this in good shape. And what I am seeing from the community is, oh my God, the coordination, the help that we're giving one another, the information flow has been outstanding. And sometimes we get too much information and we're not sure exactly what information is correct and what isn't. I suggest always get your information from the city and the city website. I know the radio station has always been a bastion of great information for our citizens, so the radio station is also a great place to get your information. And but in terms of how we've handled the pandemic, it's very difficult to say you handled it or anybody handled it very well, because the information flow kept changing.
Yeah.
the rules kept changing.
Yeah, and you hinted on this a little bit. My next question, what you just said about people making sure they have the proper information as a lot of new stuff is coming in. I'm sure you're aware yesterday the governor announced that hopefully by June 15th, if things stay the same, the city and the state can start reopening to almost full capacity again. What is some advice that you have for people just so they don't get too excited and start doing things that could jeopardize people's health and their own?
Well, here's a good example. I'm at the radio station, and I'm wearing a mask. You're wearing a mask. Your director's wearing a mask. The people in the office are wearing masks. And we're social distancing. All right? And there's disinfectant all over the place. If we need to disinfect, we can disinfect right away. And this is under tier orange, right? So we're almost there, and we're still being very cautious and very careful. And so that's what I recommend to everybody. Look, we're not open yet. We're almost open. Almost open,
Yeah,
open.
we're almost there.
It's like being almost pregnant, right? There's no such thing as almost pregnant. You're either open or you're not open. So consider us not open yet until June 15th. Lord willing, and the governor willing, which in some cases may be the same person to some people. I don't know. But anyway, until we are open, wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands frequently, use disinfectant profusely, and you'll be okay. And by the way, if you haven't gotten your vaccine, go get your vaccine. Okay, I got my vaccine. I got my 2 vaccines. My wife got her 2 vaccines. Anybody who hasn't gotten a vaccine yet, there are lots of places where you can get them, and there are lots of vaccines available. Go get your vaccine, and be even safer than. It's always better to be safer than you need to be, and getting a vaccine, although it doesn't guarantee that you're 100% safe, makes you a heck of a lot safer than otherwise.
Awesome. And one last thing for you, Bill, just on a somewhat lighter note. What's next for the city of Santa Clarita moving forward? Any announcements you have? Anything you can talk about moving forward?
Next week we have the grand opening of the ice station. Okay,
Yeah.
which we now
That's
call
awesome.
the Cube, which is the Cube Ice and Entertainment Center for Santa Clarita. We're going to have the grand opening of that. We've done great stuff. We remodeled it completely. We're going to have the great Hall of Famer Luc Robitaille, who is one of the greatest hockey players ever to play, and who is now the president of the Los Angeles Kings. He's going to come out, and he and I are going to we're going to play hockey, and no, I'm just kidding. I did ice skate as a young person and well into my adulthood, and I recommend it highly for anyone. Ice skating is such a joy, and we're honored and blessed to have been able to keep the ice station going, the Cube. The other thing we have is right down the street over here. The Laemmle Theater is going to open pretty soon. How about that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
You excited?
I am.
All
It's
right.
been a long time coming.
Yeah.
I think everyone's excited for that one.
Okay, so the Laemmle Theater is going to open. That's another thing coming. The new sheriff station is going to open later on in the late spring, early summer, and that's over on Golden Valley. That is a very important need because public safety is the number one responsibility of the council, and the number one responsibility, of course, of the sheriffs. And the sheriff station that we have now was built in 1969 for a population of 80,000 in our valley.
Wow.
And now the population of our valley is approaching 300,000, including
That's a pretty big
Castaic,
jump.
Stevenson Ranch, and West Ridge. We're approaching 300,000 people, so we needed to upgrade the sheriff station, and we will. Once that sheriff station is upgraded, we're going to have each of the deputies will be given cameras
Mm-hmm.
so that we can comply with the sheriffs being able to show what they do in videos. So overall, I think this is going to be an exciting year. Hopefully, the pandemic will allow us to open up in June. And the reason we're able to open in June is because our citizens have been so compliant. They've been so respectful. They've done the job that they needed to do. And they deserve to have everything open up pretty soon.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Bill, for coming in and talking with us today. And for everyone listening, as some good news here, today is National Don't Work on Your House Day. And to accompany that, it's also National Beer Drinking Day. So when you go home, instead of doing those dishes and washing the laundry, just relax, enjoy the family. And if you're into having a cold beer, go ahead and do it. Well, this is Louie Diaz for the KHTS Newsroom. To get all breaking news and Santa Clarita-related news, visit our website at hometownstation.com or like us on social media at KHTS Radio. This is Louie Diaz with the KHTS News Team. Have a good day, Santa Clarita.
Your hometown station.